But so today we have coming in from Hewlett-Packard Enterprise in Italy. They've come in later at night. They should probably be out drinking wine right now. But Claudio, and I'm going to botch some Italian names because I'm used to Irish names, but Caimi and Mirko Manea, I believe, are coming in to tell us about collaborative and confidential information sharing and analysis platform for cyber protection, which is a C3ISP. Claudia is the program manager for the IT security team at Hewlett-Packard Italy, and at the Data Cloud Europe, Claudia is representing the Discovery Project, a European Commission funded to streamline collaboration in R&I amongst European, United States, and Canadian folks. And Mirko is a senior consultant for HP, working for HPC Consulting Security Assurance Practices. His areas focus on software and cloud security, application security, penetration testing, and static code analysis. Mirko is currently engaged in the Cocoa Cloud EC Foundation FP7 project as a senior technical collaborator, and they are here to talk about their C3ISP mission, which hopefully will help us with sharing confidential and but collaborating confidential information, which is something we all are going to need to do, and more information is going to become confidential as we understand how privacy will proceed. So with that, Claudio, you want to take it off?
Yeah, thank you so much. So first of all, thanks for having us to this meeting. Very much appreciated. So as we said, we will talk about the C3ISP project that we consider could be relevant for your activity. So the C3ISP project is a Horizon 2020 that started in 2016 in October, is lasting 3 years and is ending this September 2019, and is let me proceed with the next slide. Okay, so is a collaborative research and innovation project where the goal is to provide a flexible framework to allow confidential and sharing of information. So it's a collaborative project, so we have many partners, all of them are from Europe, and we have industrial partners that are Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, SAP, and British Telecom. And then we have a research center like the left corner up is CNR, that is the biggest research center in Italy. Then we have the Kent University, and then CERTIN that is based in France. And then we have some small team and like SME, and like to mention the CERT in Italy, the CERT, the famous cyber emergency research team that is the one in Italy that is based in Rome. So, and we treat cyber threat information, that is considered any information that can be kept in organization to identify, assess, monitor, response to cyber threat. Those are our information that flows inside our framework. And the framework enables the collection of cyber threat information from various sources. Then we share them securely to analyze the response that informs stakeholder reaction. And we appropriate protect information from confidentiality and privacy using privacy preserving technique. And everything is based on the concept of data sharing agreement, where we use sticky policy to attach to every data. So every data is attached a DSA that contain the rules how to treat the data itself. And so that bundle goes around. So once you have to access your data, you have to first to know how who can access the data and using which obligation or any other technique to see your data. And this is the main framework. So you see, you have those are called prosumer, that are producer and consumer. So you have many C3I information source. You have a sensor data, threat report, vulnerability, and logs for internet usage log. All these data are collected inside our system. And every user has the ability to use privacy preserving technique in advance, so he can protect specific data using different techniques that Mirko will explain. And all this data then flows inside a data lake where you can analyze, use some analysis tool, and the result is sent back to the prosumer that can use those data to react properly to the cyber threat attacks. This is the framework in general. And from now on, Mirko will explain more in detail the framework.
So thank you, Claudio. Thank you to all. Good afternoon. My name is Mirko Manea, as I was presented before. So here we can see the sharing and analysis sample story, which is some kind of scenario that we use to explain the specific of the C3ISP project. So if start thinking about having some prosumers. We call prosumers actors that basically produce and consume information at the same time. And of course, these information are CTI, cyber threat information. And so think about these prosumers that want to start improving their capabilities to spot malware inside their companies. So what they can do is start sharing anti-malware log files. So these are a specific type of CTI, cyber threat information, that is called cyber observable. So think about the simple log files, the one that you can find in any anti-malware or antivirus solution that is deployed in major enterprises or different companies. So you have this kind of logs. As you can see here, we have a simple set of records where you have, for example, a timestamp, or you can have the name of the computer that has been infected. For example, you could have also IP addresses, whatever, some information, the malware that has been infected that machine. And as you can see, these are all information that might be sensitive in nature. But what you want to understand is if there is for example, a malware outbreak campaign. So this could be your specific analytics that you want to run to try to find if there is a campaign that is in act. And please proceed. Next slide, Claudio. And the idea is that many prosumers, so we have on the left prosumer A, B, and C, can share their data. And so basically they share the same data as you saw in the previous slide, where they share data individually. It appears that there is no major issues because you are not able to understand that there is a specific threat that is undergoing. So, for example, you are below a specific threshold of infection inside your set of machines in your company. But please, next. But if you are able to take all these at once in a single as a single set of data, you can see that a specific maybe a specific threat is start spreading. Please next. And that's of course something that can already be done today with the capabilities and tools that we have today, but there could be some issue here to take care. For example, you might be concerned about the privacy of your specific details of your network. For example, you don't want to share IP addresses, or you don't want to share the host name of your network. You don't want to share the fact that you have been infected with a specific malware. But still, you want to have this collaborative analysis, and that can find some results only if you put more data together. So if you merge data from different producers or for different prosumers, and that's the challenge that we are trying to address with the C3ISP project. What we call secure collaboration data analytics, which is in fact a way to try to preserve privacy while being able to spot security threats at the same time. So please next. So here you have a simplified version of our architecture. In fact, the first thing that, so we have three major subsystems that we call Data Sharing Agreement Manager, or DSA Manager, Information Sharing Infrastructure, Information Analytics Infrastructure. The Data Sharing Agreement Manager is the part of the system that allows prosumers to agree on the rules that allows you to exchange data and exchange securely data. So for example, you might decide that you write that there is a rule that allows you to share the data only if specific fields are encrypted or are anonymized, or whatever other privacy preserving techniques that is supported by the framework. And once you have the data sharing agreement in place, please next, you can start sharing this data. And while you share the data, basically you are putting data inside the system where we have specific data lakes. We attach the data sharing agreement, so we select the proper data sharing agreement for the information that is being sharing. We attach the data sharing agreement to the object that is being shared, for example, the malware, the anti-malware logs, and we encrypt in a secure container. And this container is then stored safely in the information sharing infrastructure until an analysis need appears. So when we run an analytics, basically what happens is that the information analytics infrastructure takes the data, obeying to the rules that are prescribed in the data sharing agreement. The analytics discover or spots specific threats. So basically, the analytics finds, for example, that there is a malware outbreak campaign enacted by looking at the thresholds that I described before. And please next, the result is itself submitted into the system, into the information sharing infrastructure, and on its own protected by a data sharing agreement specific to the result. So this way, we have that the result is sent back to the user when it is needed. And in this way, we also enable results to be submitted again to the system, becoming data, protected data on their own, and so the flow can start again. So you can use result data as if it were original shared data, and on this data you can also perform other analytics. Okay, I think that's all for the high level overview. So I leave the floor to questions.
Thank you very much. Interesting talk. I will open up for questions from the audience. All right. Well, without any. Oh, go ahead, please.
Oh, great. Yeah. This is Matthew Lang, UC Davis. I'm just curious, how many, is this system actively working and how many people you have on it? And I'm sorry if you said that at the beginning, but because I arrived a little bit late.
Well, I can start answering. So the project is still under development, so will be end this September. But we have a number of pilots. So every project like this has real pilot running by real company. So we have one run by British Telecom that is targeting the medium, small and medium enterprise customer. Then we have one run by SAP. Then we have two running in Italy, one considering the CERT, and the other considering the register or IP for industry in Italy. And maybe Mirko, you can give more detail about each of these use case.
Yes, sure. If you want, for example, the CERT pilot is concerned with detecting spam campaign, and in fact they are using this infrastructure to securely share email addresses, and as you can imagine, email address could be a sensitive field, and so this field need to be protected. And still being able to perform some analysis to detect that there is a spam campaign in act. So that's, for example, one of the use cases that we are developing.
Maybe the one from British Telecom, if you can say some word as well, because there are probably two or at least three of these projects that we're gonna adopt the project result in real, because one they have team tested on their system. They're considering, seriously considering to use for their production system, and that is British Telecom and the CERT in Italy. So you can say some word, Mirko, about the British Telecom.
Yes. Basically, they related to the managed security services. So they employ their already in place managed security service infrastructure to collect data from the customers, protect data from their customer, and enable them to collectively and securely analyze the data from possibly from different customers. So this is of course an advantage, something that before the project that they were not able to do, and we hope that at the end of the project they will be able to achieve such a result.
Do we answer your question?
Yeah. I guess I'm wondering if okay, so I'm coming at it from a perspective of looking at essentially a relatively new area where the Internet of Things is expanding into essentially food and ag, but and I tend to think about how will we secure this Internet of Food as it becomes more driven by information technology and more susceptible to all of the security issues that IT and IoT bring. And I'm just wondering if there's, we can talk about this offline. I don't think it's necessary for this whole group because not everybody here is doing food, but maybe this idea of, specific domains where you're installing this, whether it's in transportation or other types of critical infrastructure, where you can collect specific types of data that are threatening infrastructure that is a cyber infrastructure, but also has ramifications in sort of outside of the cyber world. Do you have instances like that?
Well, yes, in general, nothing prevents to use different data that is not specifically CTI, Mirko.
Yes, for sure. In fact, the information sharing infrastructure is quite a general infrastructure. In fact, it was a result of a previous project, and this enables you to share securely. So the great idea here is the data sharing agreement. So we are able to share basically all kind of information. So this is architecture is specialized for cyber threat information, but the information sharing infrastructure is quite general and is able to share securely information between parties regulated under the rules that you can write this data sharing agreement. And the data sharing agreement is this set of rules is written in a quite easily way because we employ a specific controller natural language which is very similar to English. So it's something that is even easy to write.
Hi, this is Jay. I have a question regarding your infrastructure. You showed earlier in the slides about malware example with the specific attributes and fields. Do you consider that to be very flexible? Your schema, what I'm getting at is that your information sharing infrastructure, is the schema very flexible? How flexible it is? Can you share more about that?
Yeah. We employ basically we encode CTI information in sticks, in the Structured Threat Information Exchange standard, and for what concern the specific log files, we encode these in common event format standard, which is an industrial standard of representing log files. So provides and is supported by many vendors. So already different vendors of security devices, consider firewall or anti-malware solution, CM or whatever. Already some vendors generates data in CEF format. So the infrastructure being able is so we decided to adopt such common format because then all the operations that happen work on this standard format. So also the privacy preserving techniques that are used thanks to the policy specifying data sharing agreement are applied to this structure.
Thank you. Follow up on that. How do you see a university like usage or agreement to part of this? University researchers like myself that we may or may not have the exact type of data to share, but we would like to ask for agreement to use your data. How do you see that to be feasible for us?
Claudio, you have for sharing data from other parties. Of course, there should be some agreement for sharing data. And what we consider is that the data sharing agreement is some kind of formal contract for sharing. So basically, we have a tool that allows you to write collaboratively this data sharing agreement between different parties. So different parties agree on specific rules to be shared that they will be used to regulate the sharing. and we consider this some kind of or part of a contract that might be signed by the parties prior to sharing. Of course, prior to sharing, you have to create this data sharing agreement, let's say offline, and then at runtime, this data sharing agreement is used.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you, everybody. Are there any other questions from the audience? If not, I want to thank our speakers today. So thank you so much for coming and showing us about how securing data is coming to be and how we may take advantage of it in sort of our academic and research roles.